Hi guys, welcome to the podcast at the end of the day. For those who are new to the episode, new to the podcast, this is a weekly guide for the newly arriving immigrants in the United States. And we started the podcast in 2018, the last week of May, right?
Yeah. And then it's been more than 6 months that we have been doing this podcast, and we're at the end of this year and 2019 begins.
Yeah, the year 2019 begins. So before we get headed with 2019, we thought of summing up the year 2018, like summing up in the sense of summing up some of the major takeaways from the episodes we have done in 2018.
Right. And interestingly, we started our podcast telling our own story, and then we gradually reached out to people and started sharing their story.
So basically in the first episode, because we had no guest to interview, we had Anuz himself as the guest in our podcast, and we interviewed him. You were a full-time journalist in Nepal, and now you still want to pursue that as a career, even in New York.
Right.
Why not talk about that?
I was a journalist in Nepal for more than 8 years. I was a news anchor on a television, and then we migrated here 4 years ago, and I thought it could be good for me to pursue my mainstream journalism career here in New York. So I thought it would be a good idea to study journalism so that I can learn how journalism works in US mainstream media, So I enrolled to CUNY Graduate School of Journalism. Then it was a 1.5 year of program, and I graduated last December.
That was in the last week of May, the episode.
Yep.
And today, which is in the end of 2018, now you have finally found yourself a job as a journalist in the US.
Yes, and I've been working as a video producer at TheStreet.com since the first week of October, so I'm loving it. And I've also made a vlog about that, so if you want to check it out, we'll put the link in the description below. We want to remember some of the episodes we have done. Obviously we can't include all those episodes, but we want to point out some of the episodes which we thought is worth mentioning.
Let's say, for example, okay, so on the website I can see this interview of an attorney. Her name is Lissel Cobrador, and she is originally from Philippines.
Right.
Remember, for me, the major takeaway from her interview was, she mentioned that after she finished her law degree in the US,
right,
she was so desperate because she applied for job in numerous law firms, but she never got responses.
Right.
And she was so kind of upset and depressed. And when she had gone back home to Philippines for a short break, in the meantime she was contacted by her classmate,
right,
who had started practicing as an attorney in New York. And then her friend approached her over the phone and then proposed her if she would like to join him.
Right. You were applying to so many jobs, and eventually what happened is your classmate,
Dilli
Bhatta, where you worked for a long time, he offered you a job.
Yes. See, it's really interesting. So this, kind of brings me to a fact that actually we discussed in our first episode. One benefit of going to university in US, if you want to make a career, is you could use your friendship in the long run. So you were a classmate with Dilli Bhatta, and he invited you to work.
Yes, I was there for 7 years, and I learned what there was to learn about immigration law. For that, I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and of course, they sponsored my visa.
And interestingly, the traditional way of finding a job is applying a job, through online, through looking at the newspaper advertisements. That's how traditional job application works. But in today's world, you have to build a connection with your classmates. You have to build your connection with your professor. That's how you can also land job here. That's another way of grabbing a job in US.
Yeah. So by the way, if you want to check out the that particular interview that I mentioned, it's on episode number 12.
12,
right?
and
it's titled "Determined." Be determined enough to do it.
Yep.
And as you talk about the traditional way of finding a job, that brings me to episode number 14, where we talked about elevator pitch with Mary Size, who represents Upwardly Global. So basically, in this particular episode, what Mary Size told us was, when you look for job, before you land into a job, it is a culture as to go and attend networking events so that you can find more people, we can find people who are in the profession that you want to get into. And then when you find those people and when you introduce yourself the first time, what are the basic things that you have to do and how should you be presenting yourself? This is what Mary talks about in this particular episode.
We actually requested Mary Size to give us a demo of elevator pitch right on the spot, and this is how she did it. Let's do one experiment. I am with you on an elevator and you are pitching your elevator pitch to me. So I'll give you 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mary. I work at Upwardly Global. It's a nonprofit that helps skilled immigrants get jobs. I went to school in San Diego and studied political science, and it was then that I realized this world is huge and we can do so much work together to improve this world. Right now, the job that I'm doing is a total mix of meeting people every day and helping them get back to their professional career, while also, working with the team to develop them professionally. Right now, I'm interested to stay in this field because it's something that I learn every day, and I'm challenged, and I'm surrounded by people with such passion for this mission.
And this is interesting, Anuz. No matter which profession you are in, and no matter which sector you want to make your career in, elevator pitch is equally important.
Right.
Now, the reason I'm saying this is because in the podcast, we have been interviewing people from a varied sector of profession.
Right.
So one of those personalities is Shrestha, who is originally from Nepal, and the conversation we did with him is about fine dining as a career, right? And do you remember he said that he actually used to be an actor, a theater actor back home in Nepal, and then getting into fine dining, he said that what he does in the fine dining service is a great form of art.
Right.
Fine dining is a very specialized place where you go yourself, but you cannot choose yourself placement or a food, and you have very specific place. And the service wise also, there are certain rules and regulation, very specified phases. There are terms and terminology, how you serve it, serving from the left, clearing from the right. It's like a theater.
So let us give you the website for those of you who are watching and listening to us for the first time today. Our official website is www.podcastattheendoftheday.com. So go to the website and there is an archive of all the episodes we have done so far. Plus, for those of you who are interested in watching making of this and that or behind the scenes, so we also have behind the scenes of all these interviews and all these recordings that we have done. Plus, if you're interested to find out more about what Anuz does and what I do, we have information on that as well.
Right. And another episode which I want to mention is there's an episode which we did with a friend from Uzbekistan, Indira Laktayeva, and she shared a very interesting story which I've never heard of. When she came to New York for the first time, she was really lost about what to do, where to go, and how to approach people. What she did is she started a bucket list.
So Indira told us how, in order to gain confidence and to adjust with the new environment in the US, she realized that first you should do the activities that gives you pleasure.
Right.
Because once you're in the activities that when I say activities, I mean the hobbies. Like if you love paintings, do more of paintings, go and attend art exhibitions, and then gradually it builds your confidence, and then you get to meet more people, and that is how she adjusted. And interestingly, as Anu said, she had all those activities in her bucket list, and she would tick it off once those activities are done, and that helped her gain the confidence.
Right.
As you look back at those list of activities, how did those activities help you overcome your nervousness?
It helped me because I had some accomplishments, yes, and so I did through it. So I was busy, not just busy, with something.
And if you want to check out her episode, go to episode 17, Feeling Lost, Start a Bucket List is the title. Yeah, so we have like so many episodes which we really want to mention here, but because of time constraint, we can't do it.
And I guess on that note, we can say bye-bye for today.
Yeah.
And before we do that, we of course would like to thank you, all our audience, for watching us and for listening to us on all the podcast platforms and watching us on YouTube. Those of the audience who have been sending emails to us and sending messages on LinkedIn, messages on Twitter and Facebook, and commenting us on the podcast platforms and on YouTube. Thank you so much for doing that, because I know it's a very busy time and you still spared some of your precious time in doing that. So we really appreciate that. And we would like to thank the English Speaking Union, Arnik, for providing us this space to record the podcast. Thank you so much. And a little note about the organization English Speaking Union. So the English Speaking Union has a program called Andrew Romaine New Immigrant Center, ARNIC. This is basically a free program that provides immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers a home-like setting where you get to improve your English fluency, you get to learn about American culture, network, and find professional development opportunities as you begin to build new lives in America. And I, as a former student of the English Speaking Union, I would definitely like to suggest you to come and get in touch with ESU if you want to enhance your English language skill and develop more understanding of the US culture.
Yeah, and we come to the end of this particular episode of our podcast.
And we have come to the end of 2018.
Yeah, and keep supporting our podcast, and we will be bringing more episodes in 2019. Yeah.
So Happy New Year, and you have a beautiful start to the year 2019.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, a quick note. If you have a personal story that you think might be helpful to the newly arriving immigrants in the US, please contact us. We would love to feature you in our podcast. Go to our website, podcast@theendoftheday.com, and write to us by going to the feedback section.
And by the way, if you love this podcast, you can support us with a small donation. Your help will enable us to continue producing more episodes. The link to support our podcast is in the description below.